Hey YouTubers, good morning. Matt Hunt here with MDH Technologies. I'm happy you're here. I greatly appreciate your time. Today's discussion is going to be on HTTPS. What is it? Why use it? And what are the costs? Okay. Not anticipating a very long discussion this morning, but once again, I greatly appreciate your time and appreciate you joining us. I hope that you've found some of our other videos useful to you, and I hope that you're sharing those with your colleagues and friends, and that you're subscribing to our channel and liking our videos. That's definitely going to help spread the word, so we appreciate that. Okay, let's get into it. What is HTTPS? Well, without being too technical in the explanation of the acronyms and so on, all you really need to know is that HTTPS is a layer of security. And what I mean is HTTPS essentially conceals information that you're transmitting to a website, as long as that website is HTTPS. For example, passwords, credit card information, birthdays, and any of the form data that you would fill out on a website and that sort of thing. So if it's not HTTPS, then conceivably somebody could be eavesdropping on you. Anybody from your neighbor to your internet provider, or anybody that's connected in from the point of origin to the point of the destination. Okay, because the way that the internet works is you just don't go directly from your business or residence to the website. Okay, you actually have to hop around to multiple networks until eventually you get to the place you intend to go. So HTTPS, first of all, is not does not give you the ability to surf anonymously. Okay, now that's a little bit different, and that's not going to be covered in this video. So eavesdroppers technically could still tell what site, for example, you're going to, but would not be able to see the data that's being exchanged between those sites. Okay, and so that's really what we're talking about today. We're not talking about creating anonymity. We're simply talking about encrypting and keeping the information that you're exchanging with websites safe. So if you're going to websites that you want to conceal the website entirely, then certainly you'd want to have a discussion with your IT professional on how you can do that anonymously. And it's probably a great topic for a video, and maybe we'll do one of those very soon. So, but moving on. So HTTPS is basically a security mechanism for encrypting information that's being sent to and from websites that you're visiting. And why would you use HTTPS? Well, there are some pretty clear examples, like online shopping, right? Whenever you're exchanging credit card information or personal information, even passwords. Whenever you're logging into something, you don't want people to be looking at your passwords and usernames and things. So if you're currently logging into a website that's not HTTPS, beware, because that is not safe. And if you're doing that, you may want to talk to the vendor or the webmaster of that site and find out what you can do to keep yourself protected. By and large, many people use the same password or very close variations of that password for almost every site that they log into. So conceivably, if an attacker or a hacker was able to obtain your password by eavesdropping your traffic on a low security site, they would then be able to attempt those same logins to more sensitive information on more secure sites like your bank and things. So just keep that in mind. If you're allowing hackers or attackers an avenue to be able to obtain that information, it doesn't matter how secure your bank is or any of your vendors, because it's really the weakest link in the chain that you need to be worried about. So keep that in mind. If you're currently logging into a site using HTTP only, not HTTPS, then you probably want to use a completely different password and username that you would use for anything else. Moving on, why use it? Right? So we talked about security. What about trust? Well, as a webmaster or a network administrator, network engineer, what have you, you want users to trust you, right? And on the flip side of that coin is, as a user, you want to be able to trust the people administering the websites and various things. So HTTPS creates a little bit of trust between point A and point B. So trust is another great reason to use HTTPS. A third reason is SEO credit, right? So Google is huge behind pushing the HTTPS initiative as the new standard. And in an effort to do that, they've said, hey, any website that uses HTTPS will now get a little bit of search engine credit, just meaning that if you use HTTPS, you might be a little bit higher up on the search engines, okay? And there's a lot of proprietary information that Google does not share with us on the specifics of those. But my guess is that it's going to become increasingly more important. So another great point in terms of HTTPS is to prevent a degree of eavesdropping. Well, okay, so I did mention today that we're not talking about being completely anonymous online, but we are talking about obscuring or encrypting the information that's being transported back and forth. So it does give you a certain degree of protection in that regard. So those are all some really important reasons why to use it. And really, like I said, Google and there's other people as well out there that are really pushing for HTTPS to be the new standard. It certainly is starting to catch on. And in this world where hackers are always just half a step behind and sometimes a step ahead, it's good to implement as much security as you can, because really the key here is to have a ratio of security. Okay, so if you were to rate the information that you have on a scale, let's say 1 to 5, 5 being the most sensitive and 1 being the least sensitive. And then you were to rate security on the same scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the least secure and 5 being the most secure. So if you always want to keep a high security ratio, meaning if your information is rated at a 2 or a 3, then you want to keep security above that 2 or 3. You want to be a 4 or a 5. Because the idea is to have more security than what you really need to protect that information, so that it's just not worth the effort that it would take to be able to steal that information. So that's really the topic of another conversation, but I just wanted to touch on that briefly. So the last question we're going to answer today is, what are the costs of using HTTPS? Well, in many cases, the good news is it's usually not that expensive. Really, all it takes to secure a website, for example, is an SSL certificate. Now, there are different certificates used for different things. A wildcard certificate, for example, can secure an unlimited number of websites, and typically they're a lot more expensive. Now, a security SSL certificate that is designed to protect one website is a lot less expensive and is usually under $200 a year. Now, you can purchase an SSL certificate that's valid for multiple years. That way, once it's installed, you don't have to mess with it for several years, because that is the second cost. So you've got the cost for the actual certificate itself, and then you've got a little bit of cost for the labor to install it. So you may have an IT guy or a webmaster that you would hand over the certificate to, or maybe they would buy it for you, and then they would need to install that certificate onto the web server, application server, whatever it is that you're securing, and then of course test the thing. Usually that doesn't take very long, but occasionally there can be a little bit of troubleshooting involved. And once again, you should expect for your IT professional or your webmaster to spend less than an hour of time doing that, unless you're talking about doing that for just a ton of sites or something. If it's just a single or a couple of sites that you're installing an SSL certificate, less than an hour is certainly reasonable, unless they have an explanation for why there's some troubleshooting that's needed outside of that. So just keep in mind that process is usually not very expensive. So you're getting an awful lot of security, you're building trust, possibly even getting some SEO credit if it's a site that you're trying to get listed in the search engines, just for a couple to a few $100s for multiple years even. So all in all, it's really a great deal, and there's really no reason that any website or any webmaster or any business owner would not want to have their website to be secure. So keeping that in mind, I wanted to share one more analogy with you in terms of using sites that are not HTTPS. So if you're not using HTTPS, it's like sending cash through the mail in a clear plastic bag. So think about that for a second. Sending cash in a clear plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, through the mail. Who would do that? It just doesn't make sense. So that's really why you want to use HTTPS, okay? Mainly for the security, but also for the trust and the SEO credit. Those don't hurt as well. YouTubers, Matt Hun with MDH Technologies. Once again, I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me today on this discussion about HTTPS. I hope that you all implement it. We all really should be. If you found the video useful, like it, share it, and spread the word. Thank you.